Yeah. Let's talk about the possibly game of the weekend, 4-4.
Well, it's got to be, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, awful defending generally. Like there was some bad defending, some decently taken goals, but I think most of the goals you'd say were preventable in some way or other if there was just a little bit better defending. But also, who cares? Let's give us a 4-4, right? Let's have a bit of car crash. And for Luton to come back twice, then take the lead. Their tails were really up. Like they've got a bit of swagger about them now. They've got players there who you got two eyes on. Like Ogbene is playing really well at the moment.
You'd be looking at them at the moment. I think you couldn't look at them exactly what I said. That Palace scenario.
Yeah.
If Palace had that scenario for the end of the season, we're not suggesting they're all out for the rest of the season. But if they did, Luton would finish above them.
Yeah, I think. I've no, like, if you'd have said to me at the start of the season, I'm going to be considering buying Luton players and what have you, double aside, I'd still, even if there wasn't a double, I still think the likes of Doughty and stuff are capable considerations, Kaminsky and stuff. They've forced their way into people's thoughts, and the two doubles helps. Definitely. I think they gave Newcastle a tough old game.
They've just scored 8 goals in 2 games. Against Newcastle and Brighton.
Yeah.
They won at Luton they won at Everton in the Cup last weekend, which my club obviously couldn't manage at the weekend. They're in absolutely brilliant form. I feel like the Chelsea defeat was a light bulb moment when they lost 3-2 because they absolutely hammered them in the last 20 minutes of that game, despite not really being in it. Chelsea deserved the lead they had on that day, but were delighted to get out of there with the 3 points by the end. And I think it gave them real confidence in terms of actually playing. They're not just, yes, they're a big threat at set pieces, but this team's playing good football, primarily because they've got a player in the middle of the pitch who's got a brilliant range in terms of what he can do, right? Ross Barkley at his peak is a great distributor of short and long passes and a good ball carrier.
Yep.
So they can play into him. And he is an FPL option. At the moment, you're looking for an enabling midfielder. He's an option. Kaminsky in goal, we've spoken about, option. Teremengi, option. Doughty, option. Adebayo, option. Colton Morris has found a new position in the last couple where actually he's playing a bit of a deeper role, but he's also getting returns again. He's got an 11-pointer at the weekend. Loads of options. And if it wasn't for the blank in 26, you'd be going, oh my God, these are my options to get Salah, De Bruyne and all that. You'd go for it.
100%.
It's just a headache of giving yourself too much more. The changes as well, imagine if, and we won't know this.
If you're free hitting in 26, ride it through.
I don't like free hitting 26.
I know.
It is more.
But for some people, it might be the situation.
To be honest, I'd rather you just played 9 or 10.
Yeah.
I think, rather than doing that. And that is an option as well. You go, well, I'm not going to have 11 in 26. I mean, to be honest, you'd make a case to go like Trent, Doughty, keep your Porro and stuff like that and go, well, defensive players ain't getting returns anyway, so what does it matter? Sell maybe Trent for like a Moreno in 26 and, yeah, ride it with like... I think you primarily want the attacking players, not worry so much about the defensive stuff. Imagine as well if the Bournemouth game did go in 28, and imagine if they play Forest in 29 as well. Now, at the time of 25, you won't know about 29 because obviously the cup fixtures that are following midweek. You might know about 28 though, and that would potentially put a real different slant on things. If you're looking suddenly and going double, blank, single, double, and could be single, if you're running through, you'd potentially just take the punishment in 26 and keep their players.
Agreed. So, Newcastle, on the other hand, like they're missing a few, but it doesn't feel like they're missing loads. Like obviously, Pope in goal would be a better option. You'd play Joel Linton, and then
they're both big misses,
and Wilson maybe. But it's not like they're decimated like they had been previously earlier in the season. There's probably 3 players you might bring into that team, maybe 4.
The story of Newcastle's season is rather kind of summed up by the weekend of Harvey Barnes being back available and coming off the bench and scoring, but he's come back off the bench and scored for an injured Gordon. And Gordon left in a protective boot. That can always be over-exaggerated because they just tend to do that all the time now. We had that with Dominic Solanke, I remember last season. I think they had a game on a Monday. He left West Ham in a protective boot. He played on a Saturday. So you can read too much into that. But the general suggestion going around is, it might be problematic for Gordon. So if people own, and obviously he's ruled out, I think with what's going on in terms of the blanks doubles, he's going to have to go into sell territory unfortunately. Callum Wilson obviously back off the bench as well to cover for Isak. That's how it feels for them. It's like one back, one out. It's been like that nearly all season for them. I think the real big problem at the weekend, most of them you would have been able to see it if you've seen any form of highlights, was how Bene, who's another possible option for Luton, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't even check. Is he is he down as a midfielder?
Yeah, he's a midfielder. I mean, he won't appeal too much because he's playing right wing back, but he's playing really offensive.
But he is
in
getting
that role.
high.
Yep, absolutely. He wouldn't be the worst one, honestly. He absolutely tore Burn, and Burn was getting done by Bailey in midweek as well. So that's 2 in a row now where Dan Burn getting run out by good quick dribblers such as Bailey or Benny has been real problematic.
He's a forward, Benny.
Is he?
He's a forward,
Is
mate.
he listed as a forward?
4.9 million forward, bro.
Yeah, you couldn't then, I don't think. Under that circuit, you would go Adebayo over Ogbene. So, sorry, he probably would be off the table. I think they'll change and go Livramento at left back now. And there'll be people still sitting there with him. You might be in for some good news. Yeah, I think there's every chance he'll come in for Dan Burn now. Lascelles probably isn't going to get back in. No, I think Botman's share is obviously clear as the first choice centre-back. Kieran Trippier is just about near enough the only well-owned defensive asset to return at the weekend. Yes, Alex Moreno owners, I hear you. But the only one with significant ownership who's returned at the weekend. Chaotic.
Yeah.
Chaotic for them. And unfortunately, I think they may still have some of these. You wouldn't expect them to concede 4 at home, would you? And it's not a one-off, right? The Forest 3-1 as well earlier over the Christmas period. So now, for one reason or another, and it is primarily injuries, going to St James's just isn't feeling quite as daunting for others as it would feel. And I think this is a real blow for Newcastle because after they won at Villa, you did look at their fixtures and think they could put a real run together here and put themselves right back in the frame. And ironically, it's a different United. Manchester United have kind of put themselves closer rather than Newcastle.
They have.